no matter what any of them say, there will always be a Kody-sized hole in their hearts.
Listen, you guys, I couldn't find a very good photo of Kody that was full length, but even just from the shoulders up, this is alarming. You definitely don't want a Kody-sized hole in your heart. These kids need to go to the doctor if that is the case. Hello everyone and welcome to Happily Ever Reality. My name is Brittany and today we're talking about Sister Wives, Season 20, Episode 9. It is titled Standoff at Coyote Pass. I just want to talk about this right away, right out of the gate. In the last video, I said I felt like they were implying that Janelle was willing to go behind Meri's back. And even if it wasn't true, that they were making the last episode appear that way to sort of plant the seed. But you guys, I think I was right. I think Janelle was really frustrated. I think she wanted money for the farm, and she got to a point where she was willing to do it. Maybe that's not what she wanted to do, but something was going on with Meri that was making it take too long, and Janelle was just at her end when it came to the whole situation. Now, I don't think Janelle wanted to do that. I don't think that was how this whole thing started, but something was going on. And I don't know. You know, they're not coming out right away and telling us what was happening. We know Meri said it was a confidentiality agreement, some sort of NDA, something like that, that was stopping her from signing. I'm interested in more details. I want to know more. What was holding Meri up to the point that Janelle was frustrated and willing to possibly go behind her back? I want details. They didn't give us enough, but I do think I was right. I think I was right about that. They were hinting at it, but I feel like this episode, they sort of confirmed that something else was going on, and Janelle was starting to change how she felt about it all. Let's talk about this episode now. Let's start off with talking about the standoff at Coyote Pass. You guys, that was incredibly awkward, and it just felt like it probably wasn't necessary. I'm assuming that this is something they decided to do for some footage for the show, because it just didn't feel like it was something they needed to do. But let's start at the beginning. You know, we left off with everyone sitting in their cars, and that continues. Based on the confessionals, Robyn and Kody didn't realize that Meri and Janelle had already gotten out and spoken to each other. So they think everyone is just sitting in their cars, not speaking. So they stay in their cars. No one gets out. And eventually Justin arrives, and then everyone gets out of their SUVs and they adjust their pants. Normally, I wouldn't even mention something about this, but I couldn't help it. I felt like they deliberately showed each and every one of them reaching down and adjusting their pants. It just felt like something odd, and I wanted to mention it. But anyway, during this time, we get a little more info from everyone. And it's during confessionals where Kody and Robyn tell us that Janelle was pressuring Kody to sell the property from under Meri.
Kody told me that Janelle was giving him pressure to sell the property out from under Meri.
Now, that alone, hearing Robyn say it, that alone wouldn't make me believe that it was true. Then we add what Kody has to say.
Janelle's like, hey, listen, we need to sell this because I'm afraid we're losing the buyer. And I'm like, okay, you know, just Janelle's always been kind of my financial advisor.
That's a little bit sketchy. We know he's said a lot of stuff about how she's handled money that hasn't been very good, right? He's been very negative about the role she played in the family's finances. So to me, him saying this now is just complete silliness. He doesn't care what she says. But it feels a little odd.
I was waiting on Meri. She kept saying that she was going to get the paperwork done and the time was ticking. And I'm like, I'm getting stressed out about it.
We could have forced the sell.
She says, we could have forced the sell, and then she flips it again and says, he could have forced the sell. Listen, I don't think Janelle was deliberately out to do something to Meri that was mean or wrong or steal from her. I'm sure she was incredibly frustrated, but I also feel like there was more going on. That NDA played a role in it with Meri. I'm interested in if Janelle signed it, why they did it. I want details, you guys. They're not giving us enough. I think there's way more to the story than we know. Now let's get back to talking about them meeting out there on the property. When it comes to them standing there, Meri says that she tried to make eye contact with Robyn so that she could smile at her and let her know that she's still cool. And then Robyn, on the other hand, she says that several times she looked at Meri, but Meri would never look at her. And then Kody says Janelle made eye contact with him, but Meri never did. Now, during a confessional, Kody points out that later, Meri's going to say that he never made eye contact with her. And that is exactly what happens. Later in the episode, we hear Meri talking to her friend Amber, and she says that her and Kody may have accidentally glanced at each other, but there was no real eye contact. And she also says that Robyn was deliberately never making eye contact with her. But you know what? Who knows what actually happened? They could have all been avoiding looking at each other, even if they didn't realize it, and then only glancing at each other, at the moment the other person was looking away. I'm sure it was a very uncomfortable situation for everyone, and I don't really feel like there's anyone to blame with how awkward it was at that moment. So everyone just stands out there, and then eventually Justin pulls out some paperwork for them to go over. They do that, and that's really the end of it. Aside from some footage for the show, I wonder if this even really needed to happen. Kody and Robyn end up leaving. Meri and Janelle stay and talk about how awkward it was. And then during a confessional, Robyn says she doesn't endorse fakeness. And then we get this weird quote from Kody.
Robyn hates girl games, and she reads nuance way different than me.
Okay, let's just listen to that one more time.
Robyn hates girl games.
This feels like one of those lines he had to practice before he got there. Like he came prepared with that line. Kody talks a little bit more about how they should have been celebrating the sale of the property, but they can't because of how many wounds there are from this whole experience. He says it was complicated from when they bought it until when they sold it. But that's really it, you guys. I expected a little bit more, I think, but that was it. It's gone. And that's really the last thing that legally ties them together. You guys can let me know down in the comments what you think about the Meri and Janelle drama, but let's move on to talking about Christine and David. There isn't really a whole lot to say when it comes to Christine. She does mention that she heard that Coyote Pass has been sold, and she points out that when it comes to all of this, she was not involved in any of it, and she doesn't care if she could have gotten more money, had she been involved in the sale. I also feel like it was one of the reasons that Christine was able to move on more quickly. Even though Janelle and Meri are fully done with Kody, it did feel like it was still something that tied them all together, and now they are free from that. But Christine was free from it all very quickly. When it comes to Christine in this episode, we see her and David go to a spa to have facials done. You guys, I think we're going to see just a lot of stuff like this if the show continues, more of them going and doing things together and just living out their normal lives. While they are getting facials, Christine shares with David that her sister Danielle told her that she is a terrible monogamist. And David says that they definitely do need to work on communicating about things. Then during a confessional, we hear Christine talk a little bit more about it. She says that she feels like she sort of takes over things. Christine was really used to being independent. Kody wasn't around, so she got to make a lot of the decisions all on her own, and this is just a different type of relationship for her now. She has to actually communicate with someone else, and there's someone involved in her day-to-day life. Even though she says it's something she's having to adjust to, she still loves it. She likes that David is there all the time, and she likes being in a monogamous relationship. But you guys, that is really it for her. There's not a whole lot to say. If you guys have any thoughts, let me know in the comments, but otherwise, let's go ahead and move on to talking about Janelle. We see Janelle in North Carolina. She's at Maddie and Caleb's house. She is talking to Evie and they're playing restaurant. She asks Evie to bring her a water with no ice and a whole lemon, and she adds that she will cut the lemon herself. She starts laughing, and then we go over to a confessional. And you guys, I have to put the clip in here. I just found the first thing she said to be really funny.
Kody discovered water with lemon in it, and that warm water really works better for his digestion.
I don't know why, but I found this to be hilarious.
Kody discovered water with lemon in it.
I just wonder how old he was when he made this discovery. Most people have heard of water with lemon in it, and the fact that he would go and ask for a whole lemon at a restaurant. How embarrassing. You don't need the whole lemon, but she adds that most places were accommodating and he would tip really well. After this, we see Janelle talking to Maddie about how the whole thing went down at Coyote Pass. She really doesn't say a whole lot, but she does point out that Kody and Robyn really didn't talk to her or Meri. After this, we see Janelle and a group of friends head to New Orleans, not New Orleans. Janelle points out that she's always said New Orleans. It's also how I have said it, but I guess I'm supposed to be saying New Orleans. Anyway, Janelle heads down there. It looks like she has a great time. She talks about how she hasn't really had a group of girlfriends in a long time because she was always focused on her kids, the family, or they were living in secrecy. She also talks about how the goal when she was married was to make the family work, and that meant that sometimes she would have to hold back a little bit of herself. She couldn't be who she truly was, and now she feels free from all of that. And when she's talking to her friends, she brings up how when she was with Kody, there was always chaos. She always felt like she was going to be moving soon, and now with this whole farm, she feels like she has a place she is going to stay. So things are a lot less complicated with Kody out of her life. Let's get real. It's not just Kody. It's also polygamy. That had to make it way, way more complicated. Even though you're placing a lot of blame on Kody, there were all the other dynamics with all the other sister wives as well. Janelle brings up how when Kody turned 50, all of a sudden he seemed to think he was burdened by the family, and that he had to do everything and carry all of it. And she points out that she has never heard Mitch or Caleb talk about their families like that. Here's a clip of Janelle talking about Kody.
And here's Kody with all this family, and he's like, oh, I don't know. Like, I'm tired of carrying the burden. It's aging me. Like,
it's interesting that she pointed out that he said it was aging him. I do think getting older is something that's kind of hard for Kody. I think marrying Robyn when all of the other wives had been with him a long time, they were a little bit older, those kids were getting older, it made him feel like he was still youthful. I think that's something he's really holding on to. So yeah, I do imagine when he turned 50, he had an issue with it. And all of a sudden, these wives that were older with grandchildren, you know, that made him feel old. I think age played into it more than Kody would ever let on. After this, we do get to hear Kody's response, and he brings up the fact that he feels like he might have went through male menopause.
I got 3 ex-wives that are going, Kody changed, Kody changed, Kody changed. All right, I guess we all went through menopause together, because there is such thing as male menopause.
He goes on to add that his testosterone levels probably dropped, and then he didn't want to do the hard work anymore. Now, when it comes to parenting, that's just not a choice. You don't get to step out of being a parent and then claim you're a good parent. That's just not how it works. But even if he's referring to his marriages, there was a better way to handle that. Once he realized he didn't want to put the work in anymore, he could have ended it. But I think he wanted them to stay around for the show, for money, so that he looked like he was a good husband, so he looked like he was a good dad, and for his ego. If he was actually a good person, once he realized he didn't want to put the work in, he would have left them on his own. But I think he gave them just enough for them to remain hopeful. I think he knew exactly what they needed to keep them around. I think specifically with Meri. I think he was awful to her, but every now and then he gave her just enough. And yeah, it might have been Robyn pushing it, but he still has to be held accountable. But he kept Meri around for a long time when he knew he didn't want to be with her anymore. He should have ended it. Kody mentioned in that clip that he had changed. That's what the wives say about him. I think it's 100% true. As a viewer, we can see it, but we also hear the kids say it. And Kody doesn't acknowledge that. He says the wives say he changed. So do the kids. Peyton has talked about it publicly, and I remember one podcast where he said he wanted his old dad back. They wanted the Kody they used to have as a dad, but now he's a completely different person. Even though Kody admits that he changed and he didn't want to put in the hard work, he still says he was always there. He gave 110%. Before he made the comment about menopause or going through a male menopause, this is what he said.
I was there, I was always there, and I gave 110% every time. I felt like I wasn't getting that from the rest of my family.
So Kody says he was always around, he was always giving 110%, but I just find that incredibly hard to believe. We know he wasn't going to visit the wives, the original wives. We know he wasn't seeing his kids. We know how he was with Meri. Who was he giving 110% to? And even if he was giving that all to the kids, and he really was that present. He goes on to say he feels like he wasn't getting it in return. Listen, that's not how it is with kids. When you're a parent, sometimes you are there when they don't really seem to want you to be there. Sometimes you're there when they're busy doing other things and you're just checking in on them. That's what it's like being a parent. You love your kids, but as they grow up, things change. They're not always clinging to you, but you should still be reaching out and trying to contact them. I think Kody has a very odd view of what a parent-child relationship looks like, specifically when they're not really children, but they're actually adults. Let's refocus on Janelle. She is there in New Orleans with her friends still. They're having fun. They're chatting. They're trying new foods. And they start talking about her dating. And it definitely seems like there's a little bit of a shift. It seems like she might be open to it now. She is realizing that it's important for her to have a social life. You know, I'm really happy to see Janelle out with people having fun, and it seems like her friends have a really great sense of humor. One of them makes fun of Kody for wearing a visor, which isn't something I had given any thought to, but it is sort of funny when they do the flashbacks and we see photos of him wearing them and his hair is just sticking out from the top. I can understand why someone might find that funny. Anyway, I think this is great for Janelle. She has realized that it's time for her to go out and move on from Kody. She mentions that she would like to get a spiritual release. You know, this is something Meri's done. And Janelle was very caught up on the fact that she was spiritually married to Kody. She talked about that in previous seasons. She couldn't just let go the way Christine did. So I think it's great that she's finally at a point where she wants to do this and she can break that remaining bond she has with Kody. Let's move on to talking about Meri. I want to talk about her before I talk about Kody and Robyn because their portion is going to be a little bit longer and Meri's is really short. We find out that she is still having Lizzie's Heritage Inn remodeled, but it's no longer going to be a B&B. She wants it to be more of an event space. Listen, I think it was fantastic that she was trying to hold on to what the house used to be, but it was dated, you know, it was meant to be, right? She wanted it to look like that. But if she remodels it and it doesn't work out as an event space, hopefully the way she's remodeled it will just make it a more contemporary living space for her. Meri brings up that now that Coyote Pass is sold, she is free from worrying about the family and the property because that was really the last connection she had with Kody and the original Brown family. When Meri is back there in Utah after her trip to Flagstaff, she talks to her friend Amber about what it was like when she met with Janelle, Robyn, and Kody at Coyote Pass. And in a confessional, Meri says that she is really enjoying this new phase of her life, and she's also enjoying the process of dating now. It looks like in the teaser for the next episode, she is still seeing Ron. So I'm sort of looking forward to that. You know, I think it's the last episode of the season before the tell-alls. But I'm looking forward to seeing her out there dating more. I know not everyone likes watching that, but I do. I like seeing them move on and find happiness. So I'm excited for the next episode. And last, but definitely not the least, let's talk about Kody and Robyn. They are the ones I actually have the most to say about. Back at the Kody and Robyn castle, they are making dinner together, and Kody asks Robyn about what she thinks about him getting a good therapist to help him deal with his issues. Now, in one of Kody's more truly enlightened moments on the show, he admits that he needs help learning how to communicate. He says he needs the tools because he's angry. He needs tools to help him communicate with his children. He needs to learn to push his feelings aside so they can come in and communicate with him in a way that is safe and loving. I really was very surprised to hear Kody say this, hearing him admit that he has that much anger where people can't communicate with him. It hinders that. He cannot think clearly when he is that angry, and it makes it where there's no reason to go talk to him. Imagine how much worse he is when he's not on the show. And when he is really angry on the show, I can see why no one would want to talk to him. I hope what Kody was saying there is truly what he's going to try to do. And I hope he doesn't jump into trying to communicate with his kids right away. I hope he really does get the tools he needs to learn how to communicate better and what to do with his anger when he feels it instead of just saying stuff that's ridiculous. And that's really what he does. He says stuff that doesn't make sense. He says stuff that doesn't really seem to be what happened. I don't think he thinks through things. And then I also think he doesn't listen to other people. So hopefully if someone can help him with that, there could be a chance he might communicate with his kids and have a better relationship with them. When they are talking about the kids, it's clear that Robyn is trying to tiptoe around saying that the mothers have played a really strong role in how the kids feel about Kody. She doesn't come outright and say they're talking awful about him. But go ahead. I'm going to put the clip in here. You can listen to what she said.
I think there's some hurt feelings and misunderstandings and some influencing that's been happening.
Listen, I'm not a body language expert, but there was definitely something going on with Robyn when she was saying that. It's clear she's a little bit nervous. I don't know if maybe she's trying to be careful with what she says on camera or if she's trying to be careful with what she says to Kody, because this is an issue that gets him so worked up. He loves to blame all of the issues he has with his kids on his ex-wives and say that they were bad-mouthing him. But come on, listen to all the stuff we've heard him say about their mothers. Even if they were doing it, Kody is equally as guilty, but I still don't think they were saying the type of stuff he was saying. I never heard them be as rude as he was on the show. I think Kody just needs to blame somebody instead of admitting that he was a bad father. I also want to add that the relationships really got bad when the kids got older. I think when they were little, they couldn't see how they were being treated and that how their mothers were being treated. But then they became adults and they could see it and those relationships went south. I think the timing just aligned that these kids were entering adulthood around the time that Janelle, Christine, and Meri all left Kody. But I'm not under the impression their relationships were good even before then. I'm actually under the impression that Maddie had quit talking to Kody well before Janelle left him. You guys can let me know in the comments if I'm wrong about that, because maybe I am, but I think there were issues before the original wives decided to leave. Robyn goes on to tell Kody she thinks it's important for the kids to have a relationship with him and her. Yes, she says a relationship with me. That is what she says. I'm just not sure about that. I don't think it's necessary for them to have a relationship with Robyn. I think it's necessary that they can be civil and polite. That way, if they do have to see each other at a holiday or an event or a funeral, there's a certain politeness there. But I don't think they need to really have this amazing relationship with Robyn. I think they would like to have a relationship with their dad. I just don't think there needs to be a super close thing with her, because I think it's going to bring up a lot of issues. I mean, if they can do it, that's great, but I don't think it's necessary. Then we get that moment where Robyn tells Kody the kids are going to have a Kody-sized hole in their heart. And you guys, I know it was figurative, but I still thought it was really funny. And it wasn't supposed to be at all. I mean, she was having a serious conversation. Now, this part of the show ends, and later we see them again. They're no longer cooking. Now they're eating. And you guys, if you know what they were eating, let me know down in the comments. I thought it was scrambled eggs, but then it didn't really look like scrambled eggs. I just want to know what it is. So if you guys know, write that down in the comments. But at this point in the show, Kody is more emotional. He talks about how he wishes he had worked out things with his own father. And during this conversation, Robyn is really encouraging. She's telling Kody that he needs to work on things with his kids. And Kody seems to really want it. And then it switches over to a confessional where Robyn talks about how seeing Kody being rejected by the kids affects her.
When I see Kody being rejected by his kids, I see myself.
She's going to go on and talk about how her mom remarried and she rejected her biological father. But what I want to focus on right here is the fact that she's saying the kids reject Kody. Kody did a lot of things to earn that rejection, and I think she needs to acknowledge that. I don't know what her biological father might have done to make her so angry. Maybe it was just his absence, but Kody did a lot, and he did a lot very publicly to his children and to their mothers. So I think it's going to be a little bit different from Robyn's situation, though this does explain why this might genuinely be so important to her.
And did reject my biological father for years. I do understand how much I needed him and still would love to have him in my life.
I know there's a lot of accusations that Robyn got what she wanted. Robyn got to be the only wife. She got Kody all to herself and all to her kids. But there is a part of me that thinks this is sincere and she really does want him to work out things with the other kids. I know there's going to be comments that's like, nope, she is faking it for the camera. No, it's not real. But there's just a little part of me that thinks it might be sincere, specifically after everything that happened with Garrison. I mean, it sort of puts things in perspective, makes you realize how important it is to have healthy relationships with your family, how important it is to communicate with them if you can. I understand there's a time where you go no contact and that is the end, but if you can work on things, maybe you should. And I think it has to start with Kody, because he is the one that is the angriest. He is the one that is difficult to communicate with. He is the one that caused a lot of these problems. So he is going to have to address those issues first. Because I thought this was a pretty good episode. It didn't go the direction I thought. I really believed Coyote Pass was going to take up most of it, but that's just not what happened. You guys can let me know down in the comments what you thought. And if you haven't already, I hope you will click like and subscribe and come back to Happily Ever Reality. We definitely are going to have a good episode next week. It looks like there's going to be some confrontations going on. So that should be interesting. I hope you guys come back for it.